Greetings, kindred friend. Have you ever sat quietly in the stillness of a foreign land and realized a painful truth, that most of the pain we endure does not actually come from life itself, but from the way we think about life? We spend hours ruminating on old conversations, diligently weaving the worst-case scenarios for the future, or letting our hearts grow heavy with regrets that never fade. Unintentionally, we turn our minds into a cruel cage. You are not suffering because of reality. You are suffering because your mind has abandoned reality to enter the land of anxious ghosts. In the Buddha's wisdom, peace is never a gift in a distant future where all your problems have been settled. Peace is actually the state that manifests the moment you have the courage to stop worrying. The very moment you let go of your worries, you will find yourself reborn back into your own body. You begin to feel the cool air nourishing your lungs again. Recognize the warmth of your hands and the silent beat of the life essence flowing in this present moment. Etch this truth to liberate your soul. Life does not truly begin when everything is settled. It begins the very moment you stop trying to settle everything according to your will. Tonight, I invite you to explore the journey of dismantling the cage of anxiety, to understand why holding on exhausts us and how the art of letting go returns eternal freedom to you. Take a very slow breath. We begin to return home. Lesson 1. The present is the only home of life. Contemplate the image of a traveler wandering through a lush green prairie. But instead of enjoying the fragrance of wild grass and the cool breeze touching his skin, he keeps his head down, drawing maps of a distant land he has never reached or regretting a path traveled years ago. Kindred friend, we often unintentionally live our lives exactly like that. Our consciousness has a strange and harmful habit. It always finds every way to escape from this moment. Through more than half a century of weathering in a foreign land, have you ever realized that you seem to always live in two places that do not exist? One is the past, filled with black and white films of regret, heavy what-if questions. The second is the future, where ghosts of anxiety are painted, along with scenarios of loneliness or declining health in old age. We are everywhere, except right here. What is the consequence of that endless journey? It is that you have lost your real life even when the surrounding circumstances are very stable. Try to remember an afternoon walking on a familiar street in your neighborhood. Golden sunlight falling brilliantly on your shoulders, but your heart tightened because of a stressful conversation that happened yesterday, or a financial worry for tomorrow. At that very moment, though flowers bloom underfoot and birds sing overhead, you are completely absent. You are letting hypothetical realities in your head strip away the life essence of the only reality that loves you, the present moment. In the profound teachings of the Buddha, there is an ultimate truth called mindfulness. He reminds us, peace does not lie in solutions for the future, nor in cleansing the past. Peace only exists when your mind is one with your body. All anxiety is actually just clouds passing across the sky of your being. They look big, they look gray, but in truth, they have no roots and no reality, as long as you choose not to nourish them with distraction. Now, in this silent space, I invite you to perform the most sacred act of returning home. Do not try to change anything. Do not try to fix any thoughts. Simply recognize. Gently notice the cool air entering through your nostrils and the mild warmth as the breath leaves. Feel the weight of your body being compassionately supported by the chair or mattress. Listen to the subtle sounds around, the silent ticking of the clock, or the rustling of a branch outside the window. When you bring your attention back to take refuge in the body, you are performing the most powerful therapeutic act for the nervous system. All ghosts of anxiety suddenly become weak because they lose their fuel, your distraction. You realize that, right now, you are still breathing. Your heart is still working hard for your life, and the universe is still stretching its arms to protect you. True happiness does not require a great revolution in living circumstances. Etch this affirmation to be your anchor. Every morning you wake, you never need to change your whole life to find peace. You simply need the courage to return and be fully present with it. Tonight, Allow yourself to rest in the home of the present. Do not force your mind to arrange for tomorrow anymore. Let the stillness soothe you, because outside of this moment, there is no other place where life truly exists. You have returned. You are here, and that is enough for a free soul. Lesson 2. Worrying is a futile effort to control the impossible. Try observing your hands right now, hands that have courageously gone through more than half a century, worked tirelessly to build a career and nurture a home in a foreign land. There is a deep-rooted instinct always silently operating within us, the desire to hold on. We want to hold health intact, control the children's future to be smooth, and arrange every event in life according to the exact script we expect. We mistakenly believe that certainty is the only shield against suffering. But kindred friend, let the wisdom of mindfulness shine upon a naked truth. Our minds worry not because they are at fault, but because they long for something this world can never provide, absolute guarantee. The nature of life is inherently an uncertain flow, the intersection of countless causes and conditions beyond the reach of any individual. You can never control others' thoughts, cannot govern the cycle of time, and certainly cannot command the results of the future to happen according to your will. In Buddhism, the source of this exhaustion is called attachment, the act of the mind trying to clutch onto life. We suffer not because life fluctuates, but because we want life to stand still. I invite you to contemplate a cinematic metaphor of the vast ocean. Imagine you are in the middle of a stormy sea. The instinct of anxiety will urge you to strain yourself, using all your strength to paddle, fighting every wave to keep yourself from sinking. But do you realize? The more you struggle, the faster you become exhausted. The more you resist, the faster your breath becomes, and the more fear possesses you. The secret of the monks lies in the opposite action, floating. Instead of fighting the waves, they learn to rely on the lifting power of the water. They entrust their bodies to the protection of the ocean. The moment you stop struggling to control the surface, the ocean will naturally support you. Peace does not come when you banish the fierce waves. Peace comes when you stop wanting to control the ocean. Look at the practical slices of our lives abroad. Have you ever sat in a hospital waiting room, anxiously waiting for a test result, and felt your mind spinning in thousands of terrible scenarios? Or when you call your children, but there is no answer, and anxiety begins to choke your chest? At that moment, your worrying does not change the medical result, nor does it make your children pick up the phone faster. It only directly erodes your life essence right now. When you try to control the impossible, you are performing an act of subtle violence on your own nervous system. You force the brain to solve a problem with no answer, and force the heart to endure tremors from a future that has not arrived. True happiness begins to sprout when you courageously perform a sacred shift of power from wanting to control life to entrusting to the flow. Letting go is not neglecting, not being indifferent. Letting go is doing the best you can with dedication, then standing aside for causes and conditions to operate according to their own rhythm. Etch this affirmation to be an anchor for your soul whenever storms arise. Control is an illusion. Peace comes from letting go. Tonight, allow your spiritual hands to loosen. Let every result, every plan, and every worry drift away with your leisurely exhale. You do not need to be the driver for this whole universe. Let life have the right to take care of you. Just as the compassionate water is supporting a soul that knows how to float in the void. Lesson 3. Everything you fear is only temporary. Try taking a moment to silently watch the leaves outside your porch, gently changing color in the quiet space of a foreign land. Those colors never stand still. They grow, become vibrant, then silently leave the branch to make room for a new cycle. In the Buddha's wisdom, this profound rhythm is anicca, or the great impermanence. Impermanence is not a cruel sentence of time, but actually a miracle of liberation. Because if everything changes, then it means your pain also cannot exist forever. Kindred friend, the subtlest trap of fear is that it always wears the mask of eternity. When a wave of anxiety hits, it obscures your vision, chokes your chest, and whispers in your ear, "Things will always be this bad." You mistakenly think fear is a 1,000-pound boulder blocking the path. However, if you look with the eyes of mindfulness, you will see every notion, every feeling, and every circumstance is actually just a pulsating flow, born and then dissolving in every moment. I invite you to perform a small exercise of reflection. Leisurely turn back the clock, returning to the journey of over half a century that you have courageously traveled. Do you remember your younger years, facing events that seemed like the end of the world at the time? Bitter stumbles, heart-wrenching worries when first setting foot in a strange land, or sleepless nights because of some invisible fear. At that very moment, you believed you would never overcome it. Yet, look at yourself now. Where are those fears now? They have vanished into thin air, like mist meeting the morning sun, making way for the maturity and stillness of the present. You are still here, still breathing, and that proves you are always larger than any fear you have ever carried. Contemplate a cinematic metaphor of the sky and the storm. Imagine your consciousness is the vast, silent, and perfect blue sky. And those fears? They are just sudden storms that pull in. The storm can be violent, lightning can slash across the space, and dark clouds can obscure the sun. But look closely. The sky is never damaged by the storm. The sky also never tries to drive the storm away. It is simply open and lets that weather pattern pass through its territory. When the storm passes, the sky remains its original clear and pure nature. Healing begins when you courageously perform a shift of identity. You are not the fear. You are the awareness observing that fear. When you stop identifying yourself with emotions, fear will immediately lose its dominant power. You realize that worries about illness, loneliness, or uncertainty are actually just passing guests in the house of your consciousness. They knock, they visit, and according to the law of causes and conditions, they will surely leave. You do not need to effort to destroy fear. You only need to stand firm in the position of the sky, compassionately welcoming it and letting it leisurely vanish. In long, sleepless nights, if anxiety comes again to disturb your thoughts, I invite you to smile and whisper to your own heart a powerful, liberating mantra. This moment is not permanent. This fear will pass. The truth about impermanence is the warmest blanket protecting you from all of life's storms. When you accept that everything is changing, you no longer fear change. You begin to cherish every moment of clarity because you know it is precious, and you are calm before every low note because you know it will not stay forever. Tonight, allow yourself to rest in the wisdom of letting go, knowing that tomorrow, the dawn will always be radiant after every longest spiritual night. Lesson 4. The power of non-resistance. When letting go is healing. Imagine you are standing before a heavy door and you use all your strength to push it. The more you strain, the more that door seems to become rigid and immobile. You are exhausted, your breath is shallow, and your chest tightens in a silent helplessness. Kindred friend, in the wisdom of mindfulness, this is how most of us treat our anxieties. We enter an endless civil war where we assume, to be at peace, we must destroy negative thoughts. However, there is a profound irony that the Buddha pointed out. What you resist persists. Why is that? Because in the world of consciousness, resistance is actually a form of nourishing energy. When you hate an anxious thought, when you try to drive away a painful memory, you are unintentionally giving all your precious attention to them. You are providing life essence to the very ghosts that torment you. Trying to stop worrying with will is like trying to extinguish a fire by pouring more oil on it. The more you fight, the more tired you become. The more you push away, the deeper that worry roots into the nervous system. Tonight, I invite you to practice a more noble art, the art of observing without reacting. Instead of playing a strict guard who always wants to punish wrong thoughts, become a compassionate mother, silently observing crying children without anger. When an anxious notion arises, perhaps a worry about loneliness or concerns about health abroad, do not rush to resist. Gently recognize its presence. Do not say, "I must drive this thought away." Lightly tell yourself, "Ah, I see you. An anxious notion is visiting the house of my soul." Contemplate the metaphor of the clouds we mentioned, but this time with more depth. See your streams of thought like clouds passing across the sky of your being. Clouds can have scary shapes, can be gloomy and heavy, but the sky is always there, open and silent behind it all. Try to observe. The sky never uses force to push clouds away, nor does it feel damaged when dark clouds cover it. The sky simply lets clouds be clouds. When you stop using energy to push or pull thoughts, when you accept their presence as an inevitable part of reality, you will be amazed to realize a miracle. Exactly because they meet no resistance, those clouds of anxiety will automatically lose their power and leisurely vanish into thin air according to their natural law. Emotional maturity is not when you no longer have negative thoughts, but when you have reached the maturity to stop reacting automatically. For years, we have lived like a pre-programmed machine. Worry leads to stress. Stress leads to the effort to control, and the effort to control leads to exhaustion. True healing begins at the moment you courageously create a sacred space between thought and reaction. In that space, you realize that you have the right to choose silence and observation instead of struggling. You are no longer swept away by the flood of emotions, because you have chosen to stand firmly on the shore of awareness. Etch this final teaching into your heart to be an anchor of peace. Peace comes not from controlling thoughts, but from observing them. Tonight, grant your mind a license to be restless. Let worries be present. Let concerns pass through without needing you to arrange them. When you courageously let go of the sword of resistance, you will find yourself becoming as vast as the ocean, receiving every wave, but always maintaining deep stillness at the bottom of your heart. Rest fully in the state of doing nothing, because that very letting go is the most powerful act that brings you back to the harbor of self-joy. Lesson 5. Attachment, the root of all anxieties. Try to gently observe the hands of your soul in this very moment. Throughout more than half a century of wandering, the world has taught us a rule. To have happiness, we must know how to hold on. We hold on to achievements, hold on to reputation, and hold on to the people we love as if it were the only way to prove our existence. However, kindred friend, the wisdom of mindfulness points to a liberating truth that is completely the opposite. It is the very act of gripping tightly that is silently draining your life essence and creating the cage that imprisons your peace. In the profound teachings of the Buddha, the true source of anxiety is called tanha, or attachment. Attachment is essentially an invisible cord binding your internal state to a specific result in the outside world. It whispers in your ear, "I can only be okay if my health is perfect. I can only be peaceful if my children behave exactly as I wish, or I only have value if the community out there recognizes me." Unintentionally, you have turned yourself into a spiritual beggar, always reaching out to beg for tranquility from causes and conditions that are inherently and constantly changing. Look at the practical slices of life among Vietnamese people abroad. Attachment often hides very subtly under the cloak of devotion. We attach to the identity of a family pillar to the point that when we grow old, we feel a sense of loss and uselessness. We attach to expectations for our children, wanting them to follow the path we have drawn, only to have our hearts tighten with a sense of abandonment when they choose their own way. We are hurting ourselves with must-be scenarios while forgetting the beauty of what is. I invite you to contemplate a cinematic metaphor of a brilliant butterfly. Imagine you are sitting quietly in your backyard on a fading sunny autumn afternoon. A fragile butterfly is playing among the clusters of flowers. If you, because you love that beauty too much, snatch it and grip it tightly in your palm for fear it will fly away, what will happen? That very hand holding on out of love will crush its sensitive wings. The butterfly will fade away, and your joy will also shatter along with that withering. But if you choose to sit still, leisurely breathing and opening your palm like a field of tolerance, that very butterfly may silently seek you out, perch gently on your shoulder, and offer its brilliance in the most voluntary way. Happiness is the same. It only truly stays when you give it the space of freedom. Buddhist wisdom does not teach us to become heartless or indifferent. On the contrary, it teaches us how to love more deeply through sacred letting go. How do we care without attaching? Transform your attitude from dependence to dedication. Instead of saying, "I must have this to be happy," gently tell yourself, "I will head toward this with all my sincerity, but I respect the rhythm of causes and conditions." When you love your children with a non-clinging heart, you will no longer control or resent, but become a peaceful harbor for them to return to. When you take care of your health with mindfulness instead of fear, you are truly nourishing the life essence of every cell without creating more stressful friction for the nervous system. Etch the most powerful affirmation of this lesson as your baggage for liberation. You suffer not because you care, but because you cling. Whenever you feel your heart begin to grow restless because of an undesirable event, I invite you to perform an act of wisdom. Gently open your palms, take a very long exhale, and silently whisper, "I let go of the grip. I welcome life as it is." Tonight, let those binding cords be loosened. Let yourself be the lotus blooming in the middle of the lake, relying on the water, but not letting the water muddle the color of the flower. When you stop squeezing your life, you will be amazed to realize that this entire universe is stretching out its arms to support you in the most miraculous way. Rest fully in that sacred emptiness, for you are inherently enough the very moment you have the courage to let go. Lesson 6. Peace is a practice, not a result. Try to be still and look at your small backyard during the changing seasons abroad. Do you ever see a garden become lush and radiant by itself without the caring hand of a gardener? Surely not. Happiness and peace in your soul operate with a similar rhythm. Kindred friend, we often unintentionally live in a tiring illusion. We believe peace is a reward waiting at the end of the road. We tell ourselves, "When these financial troubles pass, I will be peaceful. When my health is completely stable, I will be serene." Or, "When my children understand my heart, I can smile." Unintentionally, you have turned peace into a hostage of circumstances. You mistakenly think peace is a special event that will happen when all problems in life have ended. However, the wisdom of mindfulness lights up a completely different path. Peace is not a destination for you to reach. It is an atmosphere that you cultivate in every living moment. In Buddhism, peace is considered a daily practice, not a passive result. You do not wait until the lake surface is still to begin feeling stillness. You learn to keep your mind steady even when storms are blowing through. Contemplate more deeply the metaphor of the garden of consciousness. Your mind is a fertile land where seeds of anxiety, fear, and attachment are always waiting to sprout into weeds. If you just sit and wait for the weeds to disappear on their own, your garden will soon be abandoned. True peace requires the dedication of an alert gardener. Every day, you need to pull the weeds of craving, filter out the noise of gossip, and most importantly, nourish it with the cool water of presence. Do not wait for life to be perfect to allow yourself to be okay. Start practicing peace through subtle actions every day. First is the art of pausing. Next time, when you just finish a daily task, instead of rushing to the next one, stop for exactly 30 seconds. Do not pick up your phone. Do not calculate. Simply stand still or sit silently. This tiny pause is when you allow the nervous system to unplug and revive life essence. Second is the ritual of breath. Whenever you feel your heart begin to ripple with a premonition of unease, take a deep breath and exhale very slowly. Empathize that the breath is the most faithful promise of life. As long as the breath is there, you are still being protected by the universe. Mindful breathing is the medicine that recalibrates the entire energy frequency of your being. And third is non-judgmental observation. Practice seeing everything around you as it is, without labeling it right or wrong, without demanding it be different. When you observe a pain in the body or a disturbance in the heart with the eyes of a compassionate witness, you will see them automatically lose the power to make you suffer. Happiness is not when you achieve a dream life. Happiness is when you train the ability to smile even in the middle of imperfections. Do not consider peace a luxury gift of the future. Consider it a skill that needs to be sharpened every hour. When peace becomes a daily rhythm of breath, you will no longer fear any fluctuation of the world. Etch this sacred affirmation to guide your journey. Peace is something you practice, not something you wait for. Tonight, let the gardener within you rest after a day of caring for the garden of consciousness. Do not worry about whether your garden is beautiful enough yet. As long as you still have the sincerity to care, the flower of peace will surely fragrance in the most radiant way. Rest in that silent practice, because you are inherently enough within the very persistence of your soul. Lesson 7. You are the awareness, not the thoughts. Join me in becoming still for a very deep moment. Right now, as you listen to these sounds, there is another silent voice echoing inside your head. It might be commenting on what I am saying, or reminding you of some worry for tomorrow. Throughout a life of weathering in a foreign land, have you ever stopped to ask a shocking question? If I can hear my own thoughts, then who am I really? Kindred friend, the greatest tragedy that keeps the door of anxiety from closing is that we have unintentionally role-played too deeply in the plays of the mind. We mistakenly think we are the thoughts flowing in our heads. When a notion of fear about illness appears, you immediately exclaim, "I am worried." When a regret about the past arises, you tell yourself, "I am such a failure." Unintentionally, you have labeled your pure being with the impermanent fragments of thought. We believe in every script the brain weaves as if they were immutable truths. In the profound teachings of the Buddha, this is the confusion of identity. The wisdom of mindfulness invites you to perform the greatest shift of the soul. You are not the mind, you are the awareness silently observing that mind. I invite you to contemplate a cinematic metaphor of a brilliant stage. Imagine your consciousness is a silent auditorium and your thoughts are actors performing on stage. There are actors with faces of fear, screaming about upcoming disasters. There are actors looking sad, diligently telling stories of past losses. Then there are angry actors, reenacting endless arguments. Our mistake is frequently leaving the audience seats, rushing onto the stage to argue, to cry and laugh, and being swept away by every emotion of those characters. You are tired because you have too devotedly played the role of a victim in your own play. But my friend, look closely. Even if the actors are wailing or the stage is ablaze with war, is the audience member sitting quietly in the darkness harmed? Certainly not. That audience member is the full awareness inside you. It is the silent, compassionate space, always existing behind every fluctuation of thought. When you courageously step back, sitting in the seat of the leisurely observer, you will realize a liberating miracle. Anxious thoughts suddenly lose their dominant power. They can still be present, they can still perform, but because you no longer role-play them, they are just empty sounds passing through your life. True freedom is not when you can extinguish every thought, but when you understand no thought can define or muddle your clear being. You are the open sky, and thoughts are just temporary weather patterns. Storms may come in succession, but the sky has never been damaged by storms. Let this mantra become the sturdiest anchor for your soul whenever internal storms arise. You are not the mind, you are the awareness behind it. Tonight, when the lights are out and silence fills the room, I invite you to perform an act of wisdom. Gently smile at all the actors dancing on the stage of the mind. Do not drive away. Do not hold on. Simply be there as your own silent witness. When you stand firm in the position of awareness, you will see life essence and stability begin to overflow back inside. You no longer run from pain. nor chase the illusion of peace, because you understand that you are inherently peace the moment you have the courage to stop and observe. Rest in that noble identity, because you are truly returning to your own true home. Let the shared words quietly settle, like golden dust slowly falling to the bottom of a still lake in the middle of a clear night. Kindred friend, after a long journey through 7 paths of wisdom, I now invite you to perform a final intersection with your own being. Empathize with this last gentle truth. You were never born to strain yourself carrying the whole universe, or have the obligation to arrange every upheaval of the world on shoulders weary from years of weathering in a foreign land. You are present here not to fix life, but to feel and respond to life with all the inherent compassion and stability. The peace you have always thirsted for and chased actually never left you for even a moment. It is always there, silent, pure, and compassionate, right behind the mist of worries. When you courageously let go of the sword of control, you are not weak. On the contrary, that is when you become most powerful in the kingdom of your own consciousness. Every pulsating breath right now is a sacred bridge, a new opportunity for you to perform the return home. Do not wait for every problem to vanish to allow yourself to smile. Be happy right in the middle of what is inherently imperfect, because that is the most brilliant nature of awakening. Let this ultimate truth guide you into a leisurely sleep tonight. Your real life begins the moment you stop living in your mind and return to this moment. If today's talk touched your heart, I invite you to share the lesson that you feel soothes your soul most in the comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we remain companions on this path of clarifying and purifying. Wishing your mind to be always steady, your intellect always bright, and every step to be saturated with freedom. Thank you for trusting and listening. Goodbye, and see you again in awakening.